Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your June 2023 astrological forecast. If you are new here, my name is Jane. So we are already well on our way in through Gemini season. And as we approach the end of June, the sun right here is going to make its way into Cancer. Now, what I really like about what's going on here for you, Taurus, is there can be a lot of movement financially. So if you have a new job opportunity, or if there's a new deal or a new client, or if there's a new skill or talent that you feel like you need to develop in order to leverage your services in order to get paid more, all of that is 100% on the docket. On the 11th of June, Mercury is going to come into Gemini as well. Now, Mercury obviously loves Gemini because this is his sign of rulership. So he is so strong here and he's moving fast, which he loves to do. So we have the opportunity to embrace movement and transition in our lives. Movement and transition for you financially. Like, I really don't think that these particular second house transits are going to have a lot to do with like your self-worth. And yes, self-worth and self-esteem and self-respect absolutely comes through that second house. But I don't know that Taurus is really going to have the time for that. You have Jupiter in your sign, which is such a blessing. We know that Jupiter is the greater benefic and can bring about a lot of abundance and prosperity. So I don't know that Taurus is sitting around worried about if they're good enough. And if you are, this might be a time where you do it anyway. You can still feel it. I'm not saying to repress anything, but you do it anyway. You find a way to do it anyway, because you don't want to miss out. This is what I'm saying to a lot of people. Like, this astrological environment that we're in right now is so special, and I'd hate to see people miss out on it because we have this creative surge coming through, and a lot of the ideas that are coming through for us may actually be completely reshaping our future. And if we're in a place where we're hiding and we're afraid and we don't feel worthy and we're feeling like life is never going to be anything other than what it is right now, I think you're just really selling yourself short. So Mercury through the second, Sun coming through the second, and then even still later on in the month when both of these planets come into the third house, when they enter Cancer, Sun comes in on the 21st, Mercury comes in on the 26th, so just 5 days later. Even in the third house, there's a lot of support for transition here as well. Collaborating with people, communicating, working within groups, and putting people together, putting together new ideas, writing things, all sorts of wonderful stuff can come from that. That is in a complement with what's going on in Leo, which is right here. Now, Venus has just entered Leo, and you can see she's in here with Mars as well. And Venus is in a unique position right now because as she continues through Leo and hits that 12-degree mark, she is going to enter her pre-shadow phase. Next month, she retrogrades. So as she's moving through this month and she hits 12 degrees and she'll make her way to the 28th degree next month. But once she hits that 12 degrees, she's officially in her pre-shadow phase, which is like her retrograde preparation phase. And we see a lot of the retrograde themes coming out during that time. So we're going to see that throughout June. And Mars is accentuating all of that. And of course, Mars, which is a hyper masculine, fiery, hot planet, in a sign like Leo, which is also masculine and fiery. There's just a lot of fire for you right now. And because this is in the fourth house, I often say that the fourth house is like the root system where everything branches off of. So the fourth house is so important for us. And it tells us a lot about who we are and where we're coming from. And when you have this fiery nature and you have this fiery drive, it's kind of like your soul has been lit on fire and you're just wanting to express, right? Because that's what Leo does. It wants to express. When you have this push coming up from sort of subconscious realms here, I think you really could create something phenomenal over the course of the next couple of months, or you could put something phenomenal together. And Venus is here to really help us to value what we have to say, to value our expression, to value it's like to value the process of bringing what is inside to the outside. It is a good time to take on passion projects. I think it really is a good time. I think it's a good time to indulge in those hobbies that make you feel really alive. I think it is going to be hard for people to be doing things that they don't really, it's hard to be on like a zombie mode. I mean, that's hard anyway. But when an astrological environment like this comes along, to just do the mundane things and to just do it out of the box, I think that's going to be just too hard. Okay, because Leo and Gemini and even Cancer, they're trying to push this life through. Okay, they're trying to push life through, and that can come in so many ways. And also Jupiter here in your sign, which Jupiter came in your sign last month, just crossed over this north node here, but it is really demanding that Taurus expand their self-perspective. The way you see yourself, the way you conceptualize yourself. Who are you? It needs to be bigger. It needs to be, I don't want to say better, but it needs to just be, it feels like it's like offering like aggrandizement here. More grandiose. Jupiter likes things big. Jupiter likes things big, and it doesn't like to go toward the negative ever. It never wants to see itself in a negative light. It wants to know that it's capable and it's possible and it has the potential and you can and you deserve it and it's good and there's no reason why you shouldn't. Jupiter can do wonders. And I think some people get shortchanged with Jupiter. Like, I feel like when Jupiter was in Pisces, that was really tough. Even Jupiter in Aquarius through 2021 was tough. And then Jupiter through Aries was tough. And I feel like we just haven't had a lot of Jupiter. The last time I think we had big Jupiter went way negative in 2020 when it was amplifying Pluto, but that sucked, right? We know what 2020 was like. So we haven't had like a strong, solid Jupiter force. And this feels like the time when Jupiter is finally stretching his wings and saying, all right, I've got something to do here. I've got a job. I've got time here, but I really want to make the most of it. So I think Taurus is going to see a lot of the benefits of Jupiter that some of the past signs just really haven't really experienced. Okay. So this is great. I think you're in such a great spot. Now, Saturn is going to retrograde on the 17th. So we're already starting to feel the massive slowdown of Saturn. Saturn being in Pisces, it already has an escapist quality enough as it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Taurus was having a hard time socializing and really being out there, but the retrograde is probably going to amplify that even more. It can be I would say that Saturn through the 11th is a lonely transit. It certainly makes you feel like a wallflower. It makes you feel disconnected from a lot of things. This is what I would say you want to go live in the woods and just live in a hut with your books and your animals and just kind of swim in the river type of stuff. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're not running away from life. We need to make sure we're not, rejecting things that are really good for us. Because with what's going on down here, I suspect there are good things on the docket coming up for Taurus if they haven't already showed up, because maybe they already have. But some people are going to relate more to the Saturn energy than others. Some people have strong Saturn in their chart. So when Saturn does something, they're going to lean more toward that. But if you have a strong like Venus or a strong Sun or even your own strong Jupiter or something, you're going to lean more toward what those planets are doing. So it's really going to depend. But if you do have a strong Saturn in your chart, you're probably going to be like, oh, all this great stuff is happening, but what's the point? It can kind of have that more melancholy type of energy. Although Pisces does have a creative feeling to it, so if you can use your isolation or use your tendency to want to be away from the world to channel it to create stuff, then be my guest. That's great. Go for it. I think you should definitely do that. Okay, as long as it's productive isolation and it's not pure escapism. Because even if you are in the woods reading your books, maybe you decide to write your own book instead, right? That kind of thing, where you are taking, this is Leo, taking what is inside and bringing it to the outside. You're self-expressing. Self-expression is going to be a really important theme throughout July, August, and September, and even in through October as well, the beginning of October. So we've got like a good solid 3, well, if you want to include June as well, June, a good 3-4 months focusing on your self-expression, learning how to formulate that, learning how to maximize it, learning how to share it, all of it going to be really important. On the 21st, the sun comes into Cancer. On the 26th, Mercury comes into Cancer. And on the 30th, Neptune retrogrades. So I do think the last week of June is going to be especially emotional. Emotion can be good because it helps to clear blocks. We'll still kind of be feeling the inertia a little bit of Saturn retrograde. So then we kind of get another one. A lot of emphasis on the Piscean archetype this month. And yes, Pisces, I often think of all the water signs, Pisces is the one that is the most, it's like the most on the outside of our mind. Like, I think we can all handle Cancer. We can all handle Scorpio. We can handle these. These are aspects of life that we need to deal with all the time. But Pisces is this weird, mysterious realm that we don't necessarily understand. That's why it's often seen as one of the most confusing or out of reach zodiac signs, right? It does have this element of mysteriousness. So when these planets retrogrades, we might not necessarily understand what's going on. We may not be able to articulate it properly. We might not be able to convey what we're trying to convey. People might not understand. It's just about feeling it so the blocks release, if there are blocks. It's about feeling it to get it out of your system. And this could be a time where if you are a poet, if you are a writer, if you are a musician or a creative in any way, shape, or form, where the creativity could actually be heightened because your emotional state is heightened. And that could add to what's going on in Leo and Gemini. Well, actually, in that time, it will be Cancer, actually. The last one I want to talk about is Pluto. Here he is. I tried to prepare everyone for this back in March when I told you that Pluto will be re-entering Capricorn 2 different times over the next couple of years. Well, he is about to make his first re-entry into Capricorn. So he was in Aquarius and now he retrogrades back into Capricorn. And one of the things that I've been saying to everyone, so I'm going to say it to you, is that this is likely over the next several months going to bring up stuff from the past, but not for the sake of pining or yearning or anything like that. It's for the sake of understanding how far we've come. It's for the sake of understanding that we made the right choices, for the sake of understanding that things had to happen a certain way. When they say that Capricorn is one of the more karmic signs, one of the reasons for that is because it's ruled by Saturn. Now, Saturn, the story of Saturn, Kronos, right? He castrated his father and then he ended up getting castrated, right? So it's kind of like a what goes around comes around type of sign. And it's really hard to get outside of our web in Capricorn. In Aquarius, we have more space. It's more beyond limits in in Aquarius. So I think Pluto is going to remind us of our past limitations, the past blockage, the past things that we couldn't escape. All right. So, oh my gosh, sorry. Forgot to turn my phone off, but, the past things that we couldn't escape. And it offers us the opportunity to kind of feel that sense of relief that it's done, that it's over, that we never have to go back. And we get to start looking forward enough that we actually start saying, well, that's not in my life anymore. So now I kind of need to replace that. I need to replace something. And if you've been, right, Pluto through the 9th, if you have been on a massive spiritual journey over the past 15 years, focusing, right, as Pluto comes into the 10th house, your focus is absolutely going to shift to a more worldly, more useful type of thing, right? Pluto in the 10th is going to bring about focus on career, focus on climbing the social ladders, focus on building incredible things. And Pluto brings this insatiable desire. So these are things you're going to want. Whereas in the 9th house, maybe you are more like connecting with God and whatever, doing the whole spiritual thing or higher education thing or the travel thing or whatever the case. And now all of a sudden you're like, I want to do something more meaningful with my life. Not, I mean, you can have all the spirituality that the universe has to offer, but like this is your human life here on earth. And the 10th house reminds you of that we're not just these etheric beings, we're physical beings, and we need to build things, and we need to create, and we need to do something that feeds our soul through physicality. Okay, so there is going to be like an interesting contrast. It'll be subtle. It's not going to be the main focus of the month, but it will be subtle, but it will still be there. And it's going to get you thinking, because when you go back to something that you don't like or that you've grown out of, it's like putting on a shirt that no longer fits you anymore. It's like, it just feels uncomfortable. Okay, well, we got to get rid of it. So it's going to facilitate or catalyze the elimination of the things that, really are just not a part of your life anymore. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with that, Taurus. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing month, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.